The term cinematic gets thrown around a lot on the internet. Ooh, this shot is so cinematic. Wow. I love this film. It's so cinematic. Last night was like a movie, man. It was so cinematic. But what does that even mean? Every piece of film is different. It is a culmination of choices being made by everyone involved that adds up to a final image. And because of that, there are infinite looks that are able to be achieved while making an image. So how can we throw a blanket term over all of those and call it cinematic? There's a formula of choices that I think pretty widely would be called quote-unquote cinematic on the internet, and that consists of big, soft, motivated key light plus negative fill plus hard, motivated backlight plus a shallow depth of field plus color contrast equals a generically cinematic image. This shot looks good, right? I would say it looks fine. It looks pretty generic. It looks like every YouTuber, filmmaker, guru's cinematic lighting setup. It's just a standard 3-point lighting, where one of the points, the fill light, is decidedly not a light, but a big piece of black fabric. It looks like film student discovers ND filter, which allows them to shoot every shot wide open, creating that shallow depth of field. But if this is cinematic, then what is Citizen Kane? Or any other deep focus shot for that matter? Let's take a look. Citizen Kane would widely be thought of as cinematic. How could it not be? It's widely talked about and thought of as one of the greatest films of all time. And yet, no color contrast. It's black and white. The deepest possible depth of field. Everything in frame is in focus at the same time. The key is not soft. You can see a shadow cast on the wall in this shot. There's no hard backlight. So how is it cinematic if it doesn't follow the YouTube guide to cinema? What if I take a less critical stance on the matter? Maybe the term cinematic could mean the same thing as beautiful. Beauty, after all, is an inherently subjective concept that can apply to just about anything. I think that the sky is beautiful after the sun has gone down. I think the sky is beautiful while the sun is going down. I think the sky is beautiful when it is full of clouds and the sun is still high in the sky. Now I'll try it with cinematic. I think this shot is cinematic, but I also think this shot is cinematic. And I also think this is cinematic. And this, and this, and this. But these films are inherently different from one another. How can I continue to describe their visuals with the same term when they don't look anything like each other? How does that make any sense at all? There must be elements we can draw on to define this word. Or perhaps there aren't. The word, of course, stems from the term cinematographer. Or maybe it doesn't, maybe it just stems from cinema, but they both stem from cinema. So for the purpose of this argument, I'm going to say that the word stems from cinematographer, who is the individual in charge of converting the script of a piece of media into visuals, making choices every step of the way to bring the director's vision to life. So in that case, is the term cinematic a descriptor of the job well done by the cinematographer? I might knee-jerk and say yes, but something is pulling me in another direction. See, I hear people all the time refer to things not related to movies as being cinematic. But how could this be true if the term cinematic inherently includes the presence of a camera? If we look at the history of the term cinematic, we find that it means of or pertaining to movies, from French cinématique by 1902. From cinema earlier in 1883, it was a variant form of kinematic. So if we're going with of or pertaining to cinema as our definition, then how can it describe things that have nothing to do with cinema? How can it describe, I don't know, a sporting event, which reminds me of absolute cinema? This Reddit user talks about how they created this meme and now it is still somehow being used. This now has escaped the world of cinema and entered comment sections across the internet in many different spheres, sports, video games, to describe anything of high quality. But how does that help us define what the word cinematic means? I think it brings into the conversation the term quality. I believe that quality comes from intent. Some could say that quality is an inherently subjective concept. I disagree, given we are rating quality as a binary term. Is something of quality or is it not? And that comes back to, in the terms of filmmaking, did the filmmaker achieve what they wanted to achieve? If yes, it is of quality. If no, it could still be of quality, but the line becomes harder to draw. Yes, but also no. I think there are quality pieces of filmmaking that people would not refer to as being quote-unquote cinematic. And to me, that's an important distinction. What people refer to as being cinematic absolutely helps us define that word. Given, people will commonly refer to a high contrast, shallow depth of field look as being cinematic, while a lower contrast, deep focus look may less frequently receive that moniker. I think it's also very interesting that I rarely hear industry professionals use the term cinematic, and when I do, it's often when they're talking about something on the internet, or they're trying to push a YouTube video to a wider audience by using that word. It seems to draw a lot more eyes than more specific terms would when talking about an image and the technique that goes into making that image. So is it truly a buzzword, or is it the highest compliment? I would like to also bring up the term filmic. Deakins has talked on this a few times, including in his new book. He discusses being asked to create a quote-unquote filmic look, and then ponders on what that could possibly mean.
What does filmic mean? Like, I also hear, what is cinematic? Does filmic mean grain, texture?
I think
in that
filmic
way?
means, to me it's about the story. If the story's worth telling and it's engaging, then it's filmic.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. Grain, I don't know. I used to love grain, but I don't think it really matters how many people actually see grain.
It is a seemingly overtly broad term. So what the hell does it mean? Does it mean the same thing as cinematic? Deakins talks about to this day that he doesn't even know what it really means. So if he can't think of a definition for this term, how the hell are we supposed to, us mere plebeians, aside from its actual definition, which is of, relating to, suggestive of, or suitable for movies or the filming of movies. But the term as it pertains to the zeitgeist has taken on a definition much more broad than just movies. It is one that is inherently subjective. It can sort of take on whatever definition the user of that word desires. Life can be cinematic. Given cinema takes from life, cinema gives us life. Cinema gives us a way to escape from life. Cinema gives us a way to live another life, even just for a little while. And cinema gives us different ways to look at life. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I didn't even need to make this video. Go and comment on someone's Instagram post of iPhone photos and call them cinematic. Maybe it'll mean a lot to them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Most normal people wouldn't overthink a word as much as I am here. But, as a favor to me, next time you're at a screening of a film and you have the chance to talk to the filmmakers, don't just say, "That was cinematic." Take the time to think of something more meaningful to say to them, and give them something more substantial to walk away from the experience with. Tell them, "I appreciated the way your contrast ratios increased over the course of the film. That was really cool and helped tell the story effectively." Or, "I really liked the use of silhouette in that scene at the end. It made me think more about that character." Or, "I appreciated the color grade of this film. I thought it was subtle and didn't call too much attention to itself while still being beautiful." Be specific. We appreciate it. It tells us you're paying attention. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Go watch some movies. Bye-bye.